Here with Nookie, talking a little bit about the World Team Trials. Nookie, good to see you. You shaved the beard since the last time we talked?
Yeah, I got bored the other weekend, and sometimes when I get bored, I just take things off. I had like 3 months worth of growth, wiped it off, so we'll start again.
When I was in my salad days, I would play with my facial hair. Now I'm just too tired to care. But, shave a beard into a goatee, into a mustache, into flavor saver, whatever. Anyway, we had a pretty big weekend of watching the World Team Trials. Any just overarching thoughts about the whole thing?
I think overall it's kind of crazy with the Olympics being not long ago and already right back at it. So credit to the athletes that were able to kind of make that turnaround pretty quickly. I really think about the people that lost maybe the Olympic dream and got another shot. Right, J.D. Cox is an athlete that comes to mind, and then some of the non-free men's freestyle athletes that were competing at the Olympics now back into the fire right away. With Oslo a couple weeks away, it should be really interesting. I think this, from a men's freestyle perspective, one of the best teams that we've seen up and down the lineup. I'm pretty excited to see how they're going to do.
I agree with you. This is, arguably the best men's world team that we've put together. Now, we don't know what the results are, but just on paper, 57 kilograms, we got Gilman, world silver medalist in 17, gold medalist this year. Fix. I'm sorry, say it again?
Gilman was bronze at the Olympics this year.
Oh, did I say gold? I'm sorry.
Yep.
World silver medalist, Olympic bronze on a bad ankle. Fix at 61, junior gold and two-time junior bronze. I didn't look up Yanni, but I always thought he's going to be the future of 65. I don't know if he's got any junior or cadet medals. Do you know?
I thought he had one. He definitely was. He was definitely into it. I mean, he feels like a guy that has been around forever.
Yeah.
But is now, finally made his first team. It was crazy. I think he's 23 years old. Junior, senior, depending on eligibility stuff, what he wants to do in college. So even though it's his first senior team, it feels like he's been around forever.
Without a doubt. And he's been competing at, I think it was Final X, right into the finals with Zane. And at 70, we got James Greasy Green. Finally got a weight class that, we know that's where he's at. And he's taken a bronze and a silver in the past at Worlds at 70. Dake.
I think that weight class came into existence in 14, and since 2015, James has been the guy, which is just incredible. I don't know if you got a chance to watch the Flow documentary on him, but I didn't know his story about his father being murdered, so that was really cool to see. I saw he shared a picture. There's a guy, Bob. Bob's Tent's the guy who kind of brought James along then when his father passed away. It was his first trip out to Lincoln, so that was kind of a cool story within the story that I was following along.
Good guy. I didn't see the documentary, but I've talked to him a number of times off camera and gotten a sense of who he is because he's a local guy, South Jersey. And I just, I like getting to know the guys. I like their style. Good guy, kind of quiet, but I just find, the difference. So when people say that the 6 weight classes at the Olympics concentrates talent, and we're seeing the best of people, I kind of disagree because Green and Logan Stieber, maybe Jordan Burroughs, the new weight classes or weigh-in formats, just because they're there, they're not themselves. They're not 100%. And I think we've seen that. Green is a 70-pounder or a kilogrammer. Dake, we know him. He's 18. He took a world gold, bronze this year. Burroughs, 4-time world champ, 2-time bronze, and 1-time Olympic champ. Taylor at 86, he's a world champ and Olympic champ. Jaden Cox, 2-time world bronze, 1-time Olympic bronze. Snyder, 3 gold, a silver, and a bronze, or 2 bronze. And Gwiz is a 2-time world bronze medalist. This got to be the most decorated team we've ever sent.
Yeah, no, it definitely feels like that, especially coming off the Olympic performance. And you throw, when you're adding a Jordan Burroughs to the lineup off of a really strong Olympic team, that feels That seems pretty good. You throw 65 in, so on paper, I think that I like our chances. You throw Cox and Burrows, I should say, so 2 world champs onto your team. That only makes you stronger. So then you're looking at 61 and 65 and 70. 70 we've already performed multiple times at the world level through James Green. Feels like Dayton Fix and Yanni are the upside type guys where it's like, hey, what can they do? Really, I mean, watching the maybe just rolling right into 61. I thought Suriano was going to be the guy at the weight class. Didn't happen. Tomasello stopped that run, and really, to me, the story of the tournament that was Dayton Fix kind of just getting it done, right? His path going through Gross, Graf, and then Tomasello twice looked really good doing it. Overall, I mean, Dayton looks, and we'll talk about this a little bit for us at 79. Looked like Dayton going up a weight class. A lot of them got some of that more pop. That being a really athletic wrestler enables his style a little bit more. What do you think, Mike?
I agree with you. He's another one of those guys that, well, first of all, the bracket was pretty tough, if you ask me. And I think the extra weight helped Fix. I'm a little mixed on him. He had that year-long suspension for PEDs, and the way they stated it could have been an accident. They never, the governing agency, the testing agencies don't talk like that generally, but it's a muscle enhancer. So I'm glad to see him back. Last time we saw him, he lost in sudden victory to RBY and the NCAAs. Graf comes in as the 1 seed, and Cologne comes in as a 2 seed, and you got a bunch of guys you don't know what you're going to get. I mean, Tomasello was nearly retired. We don't know what Nashawn Garrett's training situation has been like. I thought, like you, Suriano, I put it out there, I thought Suriano was the guy, and I will say in his opening round match versus Fowles, I was texting friends, I didn't see it. And I wasn't sure if it was a weight cut. He just didn't look himself. Now, I know he teched in that match, had a tech, but he didn't look right on his attacks to me. Looked a little bit gassed and maybe unfocused for him. Fix, takes out Young, and then he has Gross. Gross is a good wrestler, and Fix crushed him in his wheelhouse. Like when you get into Fix, when you're touching his body, if you're not constantly moving, he's going to get into a better position than you through so many different methods. And if you're not ready for his transitions, he's going to end the match immediately, right? We all know. Yeah. He gets on top. He can gut you no matter what. Doesn't have to have his leg in. Doesn't have to have an arm trapped. He's going to gut you. Then, so he takes out Gross, and he gets to Graf. And, I don't know. Did you watch that match? That was his closest match.
The Graf Fix match?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Graf seems a little bit timeless with, he's been consistent for so long. There was some complaints that he was a 1 seed because he hasn't competed in a while. I think he graduated in 14 from college. He's kind of bounced all over. He was training out with in the middle of nowhere, Ohio for a while, then got picked up by the Scarlet Knight Regional Training Center back when it was the NJRTC.
Yep.
So I credit to Tyler Graf. Russell's a really solid style, really good on top. He's been around for forever. I remember him and Jordan Oliver wrestling in the Dapper Dan way back when. The other kind of interesting point from this weight is an interesting win for Dayton is that Carter Young win. 13-2 first round. Carter Young's a true freshman at Northwestern. Admittedly not a guy on my radar. From the same area as Dayton growing up. So interesting that they hit first round. Dayton does what you kind of expect, 13-2, and then Carter Young tears through the backside for a third place in a 15-12 Conti final with Seth Gross, which if you haven't watched it, that's definitely one that you should go check out.
I will say, I know, all right, Fix won, we'll get to him. The thing that I really liked about Young is that he's got the ability to score on his own offense. It looks like he can counter, and he can reattack. And when you have those three skills, boy, it makes you hard to stop. And we'll get to more of that as we go along. But he was a lot of fun to watch for someone who didn't make it to the finals.
Yep, for sure. That's a great tournament. I mean, is it surprising though? I feel like Northwestern just pretty quietly produces just really good dudes, really consistently. They've got Chris Cannon on roster right now. Sebastian Rivera, who's now at Northwestern, was developed there. Ryan Deacon, who we'll probably talk about here in a little bit, developed there. Mike McMullen developed. They've just got a history of, if they can get the dudes there, and they have their own challenges as a program with the roster limiting spots, but credit to them. Jimmy Kennedy, Coach Storniello, Coach Hal, really, I mean, those dudes are really producing. Who's he was like a 20 seed this year at the NCAAs, and he placed at 41. Now I'm drawing a blank for Northwestern, but I mean, that's what they do there. It seems like it's just produce and develop guys.
Absolutely. Tomasello, just jumping back into it, he controlled the Suriano match. Then he had Cologne, and Cologne he's won world medals. And Tomasello, his quickness to the angle, his lateral speed was just too much for Cologne. And that was an impressive win. I mean, a tech falling a guy like Cologne, and Cologne had a tough match with Garrett in the round before, but again, this guy, he's got great parterre offense. He has been there. He's come up mentally strong. And Tomasello, again, gone from retired to in the finals of the World Team Trials.
I mean, look at he's training down under Lou Roselli again, and that's when I think we saw Nathan Tomasello at his best, was at Ohio State when Lou was there. Lou goes to Oklahoma. Tomasello made the move into college coaching, was still competing at Duke, went to Oklahoma, trained there with Sam Hazelwinkle and Lou. It's not. I mean, that's credit to coaching. You can really start to see it too, where some guys in the specific individuals and to getting with the coaching style that fits for them and their style. You can see they flourish and they do really well. And it appears that Nathan is one of those guys with when he's in that Lou Roselli training philosophy, it really works for him. So great to see him come back. He's a consummate competitor.
Agree with you. The only thing I'll say about Roselli is I think that was Ohio State hasn't been able to fill that hole. Mm-hmm. They came up, they became a national player, and when Roselli left, I mean, he is a genius. I know a lot of guys who've worked with him. He's got not only the mental side, the technical side, but he also has like the emotional capacity to deal with a lot of these guys and build relationships where they believe in themselves more than they could. And I'm looking for Oklahoma to keep growing. It's not easy. Everybody jokes it's a 10-year process, but it can be unless maybe you're Cale Sanderson.
Yeah, and I mean, Oklahoma's got its own challenges, right? With they're always going to be a little brother in the
in-state.
In Oklahoma in the state. And the one thing I would say about Ohio State is, as much of a knock as I feel like Coach Ryan has gotten, he's still, I mean, when was the last time they've been outside the top five? Like, since I think they won in 2015, and I feel like Ryan's been there since 10-ish, 10, 11. Feels like they're, I mean, a mainstay as a trophy team. So just interesting with what I think Cale's done with the dynamic of if you're not winning every year, you're not producing. Same with, Oklahoma State and Iowa, right? They're still top 3, 4 every year, and that's incredible work. And Cale is just, he's one-upped it. He's trumped all of them with saying, our off years we get, 6, one time when we punted our entire lineup.
Agree. Fix watching the matches. I think in the finals, the best 2 out of 3, he was able to make a couple adjustments that made the challenge matches. The first one was close, and then I think that Fix figured out range and the ability to control the motion. And he did everything that Tomasello did to get there. I think he was quicker to the angle. I think that he was able to get to the distance and the tie that he wanted. And, the biggest thing about that is that he was able to make the adjustments from one match to the next to really assert dominance there.
Yeah. Yep.
The thing that makes me concerned about Fix at the World Championships is that his best shot is his high crotch. He can have trouble getting to it sometimes, and that one at Worlds is a really low percentage of completion. Right, same side singles, go behinds, much higher percentage of completion, and for Fix to really dominate there, he needs to get the takedown and go right into his gut.
Yeah, I thought one thing from a growth thing I saw from Fix was that, I feel like when you think Dayton Fix on top, you think of boot in, going to far side trapped arm, and running the trapped arm. Hit a couple just straight up guts this weekend. So he's been adding to his toolkit under the coaching of John Smith.
Absolutely, and when he didn't get the boot in and he didn't have the arm trapped and he still took Tomasello over, didn't look like it was that hard. It just tells you that effort, the technique. When you got the technique right, it is almost impossible to stop either the gut or the ankle lace. And I think John Smith and Ivan Ivanov got the best guts in the country. So that's 61. I wonder if we're going to see Tomasello stick around now that there's a weight class that fits his body. It'd be interesting to see if he sticks around through this next 4-year cycle.
Yeah, especially with it being so close. I mean, I was listening to the Adeline Gray interview this morning, and she talked about how next year is already the qualifying year for
that's right.
For the Olympics. And when you think about it, it's like, man. But with the condensed schedule, you're going to see that where it's going to be a little bit of a grind. I'll be curious what after 24 looks like for the amount of athletes that I think will drop off, because I think you're going to see a lot of people that are really grinding from 18, 19 through 24, and they're just going to be shot. But that's just speculative.
Yeah, you could be right. And I'd be surprised if we didn't see a couple guys try to just space out some of the competition a little bit because of that grind, right? Yeah. The fake Olympic buildup, then the Olympic buildup, then the Worlds. First time we've had Worlds and Olympics in the same year, right?
Yeah.
So going up to 60. Anything else on 61?
No.
Going up to 65. This I think was the smallest bracket. And we. Just because it was small didn't mean there wasn't talent. We got Yanni, we had Joey McKenna, who's really improved, especially maybe since going to the Penn RTC. Henderson, Pletcher, good guys. Heil, another good wrestler. But to me, Yanni, Pletcher's low hips, I thought might present a little bit of a challenge. And one of the things that I see that Yanni has done that a lot of senior level guys have done is try to slow their attacks down a little bit to stay out of places where they're going to get injured. And I know he does trick knee, but he does a bunch of other things that have put himself and his body in tough positions. But he was able to solve the Pletcher low hip attack pretty easily, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, this weight class to me, with being a smaller weight, was the 2 out of 3 final. Kind of felt like it was like, all right, let's go see McKenna, Yanni, best 2 out of 3. I agree. I think Yanni's really adding some explosion, it seems, out of his double leg. That didn't feel like he used to hit that as much, but it definitely gets him out of trouble. I think about the big double he hit on Joey in the first 2 out of 3. Tell you that first 2 out of 3 match, it felt like, Yanni dominated and then Joey won. It was just kind of a weird match like that.
Yeah.
And credit to Joey for being savvy, right? That's how you win a lot of really big stuff, is the matches where you might have gotten out wrestled, but you still found a way to win. And then Yanni takes obviously the back two, with the final being the tech. Really good fight from Joey. Joe's a friend, so I got to be a little bit careful around my bias here. But I was bummed to see Joe lose, but I thought, to your point, I thought he looked pretty good. Yanni was just a little bit better, and I think Yanni's going to be a tremendous world team rep. Another guy that's easy to root for. Great personality, seems super humble. I really like seeing some of the explosion that he's adding. For the longest time, it always felt like Yanni was a little, not like a trick wrestler, but wouldn't blow through guys that maybe you need to do to get it done at that level.
And Joey came back he was down 7-4 in that first match. And, with short time. And, that head pinch, I mean, that was an impressive win. I thought, again, I'm going to just say that, being able to make those adjustments, Yanni made more adjustments.
Yeah.
I think his style has changed a lot. I think he looks a lot more like Kyle Dake, doing the drop-down level changes and then exploding off. Kyle Dake's the only guy I've ever seen shoot doubles off of his knees like that until maybe A.J. Ferrari, right? Like that's just so it's interesting to see him evolve, be more thoughtful in his attacks, and by thoughtful I mean more precise, I guess. He also just wants to get onto your body like Fix, so he can somewhat scramble into a position that he's going to dominate you at. But the adjustments he made. I love watching Yanni. I thought he was going to be the guy when there was all that rematch with Zane, and we haven't scored a medal in this weight class since Bill Zadok? It's been a long time. So I'm looking for big things. Especially keep hearing that Russia might not send their A team. I don't want to say that makes it even a higher expectations, but it's pretty high expectations, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Yanni's going to have quite the full plate this year with competing in Onslow and then, obviously carrying the academic calendar of college and trying, go win his third NCAA title.
Yeah. Well, looking forward to seeing it, and I love seeing the kids when they evolve their style and, especially when they improve from match to match, because I thought that McKenna would get a mental confidence boost after coming back, and the adjustment of the range for Yanni, and I think he just kept his left arm in a different position. McKenna couldn't quite get to the comfortable tie-up that he wanted in that second match, and then all the way to a tech, and that's quite a progression in 3 matches.
Yeah, I mean that's probably I think it's in the 5th or 6th time they've wrestled, and it seems for Joe, in order to win that match, he's got to make it more of a phone booth, fight him in a phone booth type style, beat him up with a hand fight, and make it an effort thing, where the ones where Yanni's gotten it away is when he's been able to get through Joey, open Joey up, and really make it about scoring a ton of points. And that's when, I believe they were overseas, they wrestled, and Yanni hit a big 4 for a tech at the end of the match. So that's kind of the game, it seems, between the two of them is, who can dictate how the match will be wrestled, and that's going to dictate who the favorite to win the match.
Yep. Going up to 70, James Green comes in as a 1, Pantaleo's a 2, Deacon 3, Rutherford 4. I thought Zane was going to come out of this thing and be a little bit of a surprise, because I just wasn't sure how focused Green would be after not being able to wrestle at his weight class for so long. I was clearly wrong. James Green looked great, came in and tooled up Mahler. Oliver beat Rutherford in I thought, kind of a strange match. That there wasn't a ton of offense there, and Oliver is notoriously not pulled out a lot of offense, and Zane seems to have that mental lapse at the end with a push out that I don't know if he recognized the situation, but it was short time. Was it less than 15 seconds, I think?
Yeah. I mean, credit to Jo. Jo finds a way to win those matches, but leading into the Olympics with the last chance qualifier, it felt like he was playing that. He almost was playing the game too much, where he's really, Jordan is so much fun to watch, and he's so good. And I get it's easy for you to sit here and say, oh, you'd be shooting more, but just seems like whenever he opens up, good things happen for him. So
I agree with you completely.
Kind of a weird match.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. It's easy to say it, but, I mean, he knows it. I've talked to him a few years ago. He told me, he's like, but it can be hard. I mean, whether it's nerves or whatever it is, it's something that he's not the only one who struggles with it. So, so he's, he qualified for the Olympic team, but, lost to Greenies on the and then he pulled out in the wrestlebacks. So Zayn is a third member of the world team, or the national team, I should say.
And that's important. I mean, that's what, you get a stipend for being a member of the national team. You get the health insurance. So that little stuff matters especially from building a club perspective, where if you're able to get your guys health insurance through USA Wrestling, if they're going to be included now in training camps, they get the stipend, they get, they're going to get some help on the travel. That stuff really goes a long way. And I mean, not so much necessarily even about Jordan, but if you look at it from building an RTC, which is where the world's kind of going more and more, you got to find all those different ways for funding, and that's credit to Zayn for coming back. That's not surprising. That's kind of who he's always been, as a guy that's going to fight no matter what. Came back, wrestled Berger on the backside. Tyler Berger has to hate Penn State, man. Between all matches he lost to Nolf and to Rutherford. I think on the top side, before we got into the Green Deacon final, which we'll talk about, Pantaleo obviously popping a rib out, it looked like, against Deacon. That sucks. I mean, if you pop a rib, you're done. And that's kind of what we saw. Was he gave it his best effort, but you ain't beating Ryan Deacon with a bum rib. Not gonna happen.
Yeah. If you've not had a rib injury, let me tell you, you'd rather have a sprained ankle or a dislocated finger or a strain somewhere than a popped rib or torn cartilage in the rib cage. Like, one of the most painful things I've ever experienced.
Yeah. Credit to Deacon, though, again, another Northwestern guy, just quietly, so good all the time. Really disciplined, savvy. I mean, I just am blown away. He can make a 154.5 because he just looks so freaking big.
Huge, right? Huge, right? So he beats Berger, beats Pantaleo, gets to the finals, and I mean, that may have been the biggest surprise, I think, at this weight class, being such a meat grinder. I didn't have him, maybe in the top 5 pre-tournament.
Well, I think the way that it got seeded helped with having Rutherford, Oliver at 5'4".
Yep.
Then he's down with 3 with Pantaleo. And, Pantaleo at one point was the number 1 ranked guy in the world at 70 kilos. Again, we went over the injury. I think the interesting thing in the finals was it felt like Deacon was there to win it. Like, both matches he's up big. And, the first one I think he was up 6-2. And he loses, and then Green comes back and beats him 6-6. And then the second one, Deacon was up 2-2, and James Green pounded away. I saw Green tweeted out that you think that I spent this much time with Jordan Burroughs. I don't know how to dig deep, and that's what it looked like. I mean, the first one, the match seemed like almost over, right? It was like 6-2 with like 40 seconds to go.
Less, 30 seconds, I think.
Yeah, James just, I believe he might have gotten 2 push-outs, and then they take down the end, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess James won. Like, it just seemed like one of those, like, okay, we're on to the next match, and James got it done, and the same thing again in the final, and credit to James. I mean, that's why he is who he is, and he's gritty, he's smart, he's got a world-class leg lace, and he's tough as nails.
Agree with you. His energy level is so different at this than when he's dropped down. To me, I like Deacon, but it reminded me a little bit of the Gwiz Snyder match, NCAA finals. Gwiz was a 2-time champ, third period, and Snyder, like Gwiz, just mentally wasn't. He wasn't confident, and I thought Deacon, he didn't move. That collar tie was confounding Green. That collar, Green didn't like when he had the collar tie on him all match. At the end of the match, Deacon had it, but he was much more vertical, and Green was able to get to that crazy double. Now, to Deacon's credit, he didn't give up exposure going down. Like, he hit the mat and didn't give up exposure. But at that point, he seemed shaken. I think the second one with the takedown was less than 15 seconds. And you got to be able to slap that tie on and control the wrist and hold center and drop down. But, there's a confidence thing. And, I mean, sometimes you get into disbelief. I mean, almost can remember being taken down and losing a couple matches in the last second and being stunned by by that, and then having to go back and then finish it up. And we've seen it before. I think Deacon can keep growing. The guy's got a lot of talent, especially from those tie positions when he does. I've never seen anybody hit a sweep double before. Right? Sweep double, and it worked. Anyway, but Green, I mean, the takeaway for me is that Green's cardio, when his cardio is right, I feel like he can write his own ticket.
Yeah, and it's purely about the team's body weight, where his range is too big for 65. I mean, the 54 versus 43, it's unfortunate he's a tweener, but when he's at his tweener weight, he is world class.
Agree. Go up?
Yeah, 79. I mean, this was the billing of Jordan Burroughs versus the field. I didn't see it that way, even though his matches were probably maybe closer than some people expected. He kind of ran the PA gauntlet up top with Hitley, Chance Marsteller, and Jason Nolf. Which those guys, I mean, that's what 11, 7, 9 PA state titles for the boys, and then obviously beating Derringer in the finals. I thought a couple things is one, his opening match Hitley was two guys that have come up in weight. Hitley coming up from 157, and Burroughs coming up from 74. Positive thing I thought from Hayden for going into this college season of that. I didn't know what he looked like at 174 pounds, and thought he looked pretty good.
Took Burroughs down. Took Burroughs down. First thing. Yeah. Right?
Burroughs, kind of a close to the vest type match with Marsteller. Nothing crazy to write home with. Chance can do that to you. Going into the Nolf match, I thought out of the first two with Hitley and Marsteller with their body types would give Burroughs more problems. Credit to Jason Nolf. I mean, that thing, I don't know if you watched the match, Mike, but it was, you could tell Jason Nolf is tired of losing to these guys. And it was physical. I mean, it was, Nolf has that edge to him, and it was kind of fun to watch. And you saw Burroughs just the savvy old vet, always being 1, 2, 3 steps ahead. Really impressive. And then, we'll talk about Burroughs Derringer in the final. What do you think about the bottom side?
Let me just weigh in a couple things. Up top, agree. Hidley, during that match, Burroughs gave him a couple of those blast doubles from space I don't think Hidley's ever felt before. Marsteller was looking good, but you can't look great against Burroughs generally. Nolf gave more of a match than I thought. Nolf is very strong, except in his arms. If he can't use his hips, I don't think he's strong enough to compete with Burroughs. Burroughs pulled out of a couple single legs when Nolf just had him in his arms, and it didn't look hard. So Burroughs was looking good. Look, that's the weight class for him. Derringer comes in, and everybody's thinking that he's going to dominate, and he does. I mean, he's not a tech-dominating guy, but he was so physically in control of most of those matches. Like the Imar match, like at one point I thought, like, Imar's known for being a strong, dominant wrestler. But Ringer just was able to physically just dominate him. Imar had a couple of attacks, I think, in the second period that, were close. He had a push out close to another takedown. But Ringer didn't look like he was in, I guess McFadden may have been his toughest match. And I will just say that we talked about McKenna. McFadden's another one of these guys from the Penn RTC who is making good strides. But Ringer, this is his weight class. If you ask me, his cardio looked pretty good, even though he's not super active. And the domination, which he handled Imar, I thought the finals match would be an interesting matchup, based on what I saw of his strength. But as we saw, Jordan Burroughs, he can score from so many different positions, whether it is from space with that blast double, seemingly have a bigger gas tank right now. He, I think, doesn't have to necessarily pace himself as much. And that Ringer, even though he's really strong, he's got to learn how to control some of that power if he's going to ever be the guy at 79.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. You said earlier, talking about Yanni and Dake, a guy who blasts off his knees. In my head, I was like, well, Jordan Burroughs has been blasting double off his knees for a long time. That pop seemed definitely back up a weight class. We saw it a little bit in some of these catch weight matches with Burroughs and David Taylor. Thought the finals was just the biggest thing to me that I saw from Burroughs that was two things. Number one, the blast double was back. When was the last time we saw that down at 74? And I think that had something to do with the weight cut. Yeah. Number two was in the Nolf match and then in the Derringer match, guys are getting to Burroughs' legs. And I feel like that doesn't happen often because he has such a good level change in down block. But twice where there was some shiftiness from Jordan where a guy had his foot up, both with Nolf and Derringer, that it's not surprising. We just don't see it that often from Jordan, being a guy that you might call tricky or crafty when somebody's in on their leg, just because he's got such discipline that we don't see it often. But we did see it, and I was like, well, that's something that maybe Jordan's elevating that portion of his game that we just had. It hasn't been exposed because of the way that he wrestles so often. But I was really impressed by that. That's from the top side perspective. I think something of note then is on the bottom side, the young buck Carter Siraki, who is he the heir apparent at 74 behind Dake and Burroughs in 2024. Is he going to be an 86 kilo guy behind David? He's obviously freshman national champ for Penn State. Rips through the backside, beats Jason Nolf, who's somebody he trains alongside with. Really interesting, really good match. Really saw some really high level savvy wrestling from Carter. Everything that I've heard about this kid is that he is incredible. They can't get him off the mat. Incredible worker, incredible kid, really, really driven. So really, I thought honestly of this weight class, I thought that was the most intriguing result was seeing Carter Siraki take the third on the national team, beating a Jason Nolf to get there.
Agree with you completely. Overall, watching this entire tournament, I was surprised at the number of bad positions kids put themselves in, wrestlers put themselves in, really extending themselves sometimes and their shoulders. Starocki never seems to get out of position. He won his national championship because Kimmerer broke position at the end of that match, stood up and shot. I didn't think he was stronger than, Kimmerer is a beast. But it was the technique. Starocki, great positions. He was able to create his own points, counter for points, and scramble for points. He's got that. When you have the attack, the re-attack, and counter in your pocket, and then he's got the mindset. He has got a mindset watching him. I watched all his matches. I've been watching him since he was at Erie Prep as much as I can because there's something about his mental approach to the sport. I agree. He's like Iron Man. I think did he wrestle 6 matches or something like that? 6 on the backside, lost 1 on the front side, or maybe 5 in one. So he's someone to watch for. Beating Nolf, that's not an easy thing. Nolf is a really good wrestler.
And if you think about it, too, there's so much more to it with his training partner. Nolf was the name when Carter was in high school, right? Nolf was 3-time national champ. And how many beatings do you think that Nolf put on Carter in his early years? And then to go out and beat him is just, there's going to be a time where some, the Zanes and the Nolfs, which is crazy. They're gonna move. They're gonna make changes. They're gonna go into coaching, and you just wonder if that's maybe the first inkling that for Jason Nolf that I'm getting beat now by guys within my room, let alone trying to be the best in the world. Does the results this weekend for Zane and a Jason maybe change things? At some point, you got to look in perspective of what's your next step and. Maybe they're going to go into coaching, maybe not. I think they would both be tremendous at it. But it does. That was kind of when I watched that match. I was like, wow. I wonder if this will start pushing Jason towards a volunteer assistant role where he's still competing, but maybe going towards that coaching route. And just I was shocked by it, given all the circumstances around the match.
So the thing that you mentioned about Burroughs, we got to see him being a complete wrestler. I don't know if we've gotten to see Nolf be a complete wrestler at this level. He was known for a high attack rate through college, and it would just break people. At the senior level, you take too many attacks without precision, and you're going to get countered. He hasn't figured out his best attacks, I think, and I don't think that he has figured out positionally how to re-attack. He's such an aggressive person that I just don't see him re-attacking to score right now at a high level. And that's just something that you have to have that full menu of things, because it's so unforgiving at this level. It's not like you compete a lot. You've either got Worlds or you've got the Olympics every 4 years. And the big complaint about freestyle is how little that you actually compete. I know Rockfin's put a bunch of cards on, which have been awesome, but you've really, just like in high school, you have to make jumps to be. It doesn't matter who you are to be really good in college. You've got to make those same jumps from college to the senior level.
Yeah, yep, I agree, and I think that moving up a weight, you're talking 90, 92 kilos. A guy like Jaden Cox that has made those jumps, Intriguing, right? Initial first funny thing was he misses weight at 97, and he makes weight at 92, and he's back to doing Jaden Cox things. I think he's arguably the best athlete in the United States stable of athletes for men's freestyle. Really kind of a ho-hum weekend, kind of a workman-like results, ran through the weight, didn't really give up many points. I thought that the biggest shocking result was Colin Moore over Nate Jackson. Nate Jackson at one point was, really highly ranked in the world with the world rankings. Nate's had a lot of really good results, but got knocked off in the semis versus Moore, and then the other intriguing piece was on the backside. You have a guy, Trent Hidlay, who must be, just freaking so powerful. Runs it back all the way through to take third and get onto the national team. So I thought that was a really good result for Trent. He's got some major upside from a freestyle perspective as a guy that might be able to give David Taylor some challenges down the line. Really similar style to Yazdani with the hooks and drive. So, I thought overall really good weekend for Trent. But Cox is just ahead above this weight class, and honestly, I thought it was a little bit boring to watch just because he was so much better.
I agree with you. Jaden has his. I mean, you're right. He's a really good athlete. At one point, I was driving across country, and I was in the Missouri room. I think it's a couple years ago, and he had a choice to put on 40 pounds and try to be the inside linebacker for his 5th year of college, or keep wrestling. And he couldn't do it. Like, he tried to put the weight on. It sounded like he couldn't do it. I know a lot of people would like to see more output, but he has got so many skills. He's proved it on the world stage before, and he's made those adjustments. I think he's way better now than he was in college, and he was a really good college wrestler. The thing that you mentioned about Trent was he gave Moore probably his toughest match in the open. I think it was the opening round, and I look for big things. Is he going to be a junior this year?
Yeah.
I think he's a junior. So, be curious to see how he does at NCAAs. And, I think he's good. I think the plan is him for 97. 97 could be, it depends who's there.
I thought he was at 84.
Someone told me he was going to go up to 97. I don't know if that's true. What do I know? So it could be 84, but that was, anyway. 84's got a ton of talent also coming back. National champions. And so I just look forward to, I like the way the Hidleys wrestle, and they got a great sense of humor, great on social media. To me, a little bit of surprise, Cram Jackson. I thought he was going to be able to beat Colin Moore on his feet. He just wasn't able to. Moore was able to come back in that second period and just sort of, it was a 12-6 score, but I think it was 8-6 with less than 30 seconds left, and I think Jackson gave up a takedown in 2 turns. So I don't know what's going on with Nate. I talked to him before the tournament. I thought he sounded like he was ready to go. But Jaden, again, we got to look forward to him on the world team. I would say anything less than a medal for him is, underperforming. and you hate to put that on there, but he's done it before, and he seems like he's at the right weight class, and he's looks like he's wrestling really solidly.
You have to wonder with Nate is he was having all those really good results during the COVID year. If maybe a little bit of the relief from the coaching duties was allowed him to be a little bit more selfish, and with a little bit extra time with everything that Princeton not doing, being completely shut down, Nate's fully focused on training. If now that they're back in the swing and he's got the working side of his coaching life, that piece of his career was kind of spiking back up. He's got 4 kids. There's only so much energy you can have.
Yeah.
So
it's not easy being a senior level athlete when you've got a family and coaching responsibilities. And as Chris Ayers said, he's like the grown up on the coaching staff, because they're like a playful pack of puppies over there sometimes. I don't want to say anything nice about Princeton since you're a Lehigh alum, but
I like Ayers. Ayers is a Lehigh guy. We're good.
That's right. He did go to Lehigh. That's right.
I got a lot of respect for Coach Ayers. I like him as a man. Obviously I root against them when they're competing against Lehigh. But they've got a good thing going over there, and I think that Chris does a tremendous job as he went from no win, I think no dual meet wins their first 3 years to now they've really got an established brand and presence. Our next video, I think we'll talk more about maybe some college wrestling, but some craziness with guys decommitting from Princeton to go to Rutgers. But that's a conversation for a different time. So we do got to wrap up here. And unfortunately, the 125s aren't going to quite get as much attention maybe as somewhere 61, 65 kilos. To me, this weight class, 3 notes I had. Number 1, credit to Nick Wisdowski for I thought he was going to hang up the shoes after the loss to Gable. Comes back, makes his 5th or 6th world team. Looks like he's in a really good position to potentially go earn a medal. Mason Paris, I thought maybe didn't keep the pace of the development that Nick Wiz did since their last match. I think the final thing was the Don Bradley and Hayden Zillmer, the first match. When I saw there was Hayden Zillmer was an 84-pounder out of Fargo. I remember when I was in the tournament, and I remember the name, and then you'd see Don Bradley, who's been a heavyweight forever. Those 2 wrestling, and Zillmer just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Had some close loss to Mason Paris, but I thought Nick was kind of the story of the weight. Any thoughts around it, Mike?
Agree. Good to see Gwiz back. I thought the finals match would be more competitive. Paris just wasn't able to get close to Gwiz's hips or legs in any meaningful way. And Paris is a strong son of a gun. It gives you an idea of the level of separation from Gable, who's able to kind of toy around with that to Gwiz to Paris, because it's, as far as Gwiz, my takeaway from him is he's clearly the second best heavyweight in the country right now. Can he score his own points? He has trouble getting to attacks, especially at the world level. He has trouble countering for points. He has medaled. I'm hoping that he's gained more of that international savvy so that if he is not attacking, that he can counter for points at the Worlds. That's my big takeaway. And Zomer and Bradley, they met and then they wrestled back. Zomer one less match in the wrestlebacks than Bradley, and that's pretty impressive. They were the opening round matches, and then they took 3rd and 4th and reversed the it was the same result with Zomer. But you don't see a guy going up in weight that much through the entire course of his career, and shout out to him.
Yeah. I thought overall really good weekend for Team USA. It's gonna, Oslo's gonna turn here quickly. I'm excited. I'm excited to see some of the videos and tweets of our college programs getting spun back up. I read an article on Flow this morning from Andy Hamilton about potentially the first Power 5 program to get women's wrestling with being Iowa. I thought that's a really, really exciting, positive thing. I think that for the growth of the sport in general, women's wrestling is going to be a major avenue for that. So I'm really excited, and credit to the women who have been fighting for a long time, and I think are starting to get the recognition that they've rightfully deserved.
I'll close with a couple things. One, I agree with what you're saying there. Two, it's a great time to be a wrestling fan. We didn't cover Greco or women's for time reasons. I don't know as much about them, but watching a ton of matches this weekend, wrestlers are some of the best role models out there. The character with winning and losing on display is something I think America and people around the world you can look at as like, this is just a really good sport. These people put it all out there. It's clearly the most difficult sport in the world. MMA fighters who I know who are wrestlers will all say being in a D1 room was harder than training MMA. Two, take away, wrestling is the only sport that has minor blood time. If someone has a cut lip and it's not pouring out, let them wrestle. No MMA, not taekwondo, not jiu-jitsu. No one has blood time. If it's pouring out of your nose and it's drenching people, but otherwise I feel like it can just be gamed a little bit. And who cares if there's a little blood on the chin? You're going to be exposed to it one way or another. As soon as you start wrestling again, you're not going to stop a lip cut. And then the last thing is Worlds is about 3 weeks away. I'm hoping to do a little compilation just to compare our team. We've won Worlds, I think, 3 times. And we'll, maybe in the future compare this team to those other teams and pick them. All right?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Michael. See you again later, all right?
Talk to you, Nook.